Caring for a child with autism can demand a lot of energy and a lot of time. There may be days when you feel overwhelmed, stressed, or discouraged. Parenting isn't easy. I know that. And raising a child with special educational needs is even more challenging. In order to be the best parent you can, it's essential that you take care of yourself. Don't try and do everything on your own, because you don't have to. There are lots of support groups out there that we encourage parents to access. So the Autism Support Group, this is a great way for parents to share information, get advice, and even lean on other parents. Sometimes just being around others in the same boat and sharing the experience can go a long way. It sometimes can reduce the social isolation that some parents might be receiving, especially if there's been a recent diagnosis. There's also options of respite care, where you take a break and another caregiver takes on your role temporarily. If you feel additionally stressed and you might need family counselling, there are also support groups that can help you with that. You need to be talking openly and honestly about how you feel, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It will help you support your child and be in a stronger position to support their needs. So let's look at how autism affects my family and some things that can help. Having an autistic child can put a lot of strain on you and your family. You might need to spend a lot of time helping your child get the support that they need. This can be very stressful and exhausting. It might be hard for you to make time for the rest of you and your family, and this can affect the relationships that they have with you. If you feel that you do need help, you can get support from lots of places. Let's look at that support in detail. Ask friends and family if they can help you with day-to-day things, or just simply be there for you to talk to. Get advice from other parents of autistic children or autistic adults. Find out where they get their support. Listen to other parents' stories. The Charity Health Talk organisation has stories of parents of autistic children, or you can simply just search online for blogs, videos and books. Ask your local council for a carers assessment maybe. You might be able to get some extra support and financial benefits. Think about maybe doing a course for parents with autistic children, such as Early Bird course from the National Autistic Society. What you shouldn't do is feel guilty for taking time for yourself when you can. Even just going for a walk on your own can help give you a break. Talk to your child about autism. It's your choice when you want to tell your child about their autism. Some parents do it straight away, while others wait until the child is a bit older. There's no right or wrong time. When you do tell your child, it may be that you do it when they're feeling calm and relaxed. Talk to them in a place where they feel comfortable, where there are no distractions. Explain to them that they don't have an illness, but they might need extra support to help them with some things. Explain they might find some things harder than other people or other children, and sometimes things easier. Bring them to a support group, maybe to meet other autistic children. You could get support from your other children as well. Some children can find it hard if their brother or their sister is autistic. If you do have other children, there are things that you can do to help them. Do make time for whenever you can. Try to do some activities with just them. Talk to them about what's going on and ask them if they've got any questions or worries. Let them have time on their own or with their friends, for example, sleepovers at friends' or houses. Check the advice from SIBS, a charity for siblings of disabled children. That's something else that could really be useful. Don't be afraid to involve them in things like meeting with health professionals. It can help them understand what's going on. Know your child's rights. As a parent of a child with autism, you have a legal right to the following: being involved in developing your child's provision plan from start to finish, You have the right to disagree with the school systems and their recommendations. You have the right to seek an outside evaluation for your child. Invite anybody you want to the child's review, from a relative to a doctor. Request that a provision plan meeting is held at any time if you feel that your child's needs are not being met. There are lots of free and local cost legal representation if you can't come to an agreement with your school. So, what should transition look like for my child who is autistic? Well, there are lots of things that school can be putting in place to support your child's transition, such as pre-visits to primary schools or to secondary schools. Students can visit high schools, which will help them with understanding, with visualising exactly what the new provision would look like. Sometimes students are given transition leaflets. This could involve looking at how the school looks on the map, what the different lessons may look like, who you may be taught by, what the layout of the school is, who your key people are. As a parent, you should attend whole school transition days, sometimes with your child, sometimes without if they're held in the evening for just parents. Your child can also have extra visits if required, maybe when the school's a little quieter, so that they can understand and they can actually enjoy the experience without the hustle and bustle of high school. Photographs of the school sometimes are taken, which is helpful. So these are made into a booklet if necessary, and your child can see the school and they can visualise exactly what it would be like to be there. These are kept at home for you to initiate conversations with your child at home. A pen portrait possibly online for your child, and this will help teachers and other staff members know your child's strengths and their difficulties and their needs to better prepare them for when your child transitions to their provision. So, how can my child be best supported in the classroom? You will have the opportunity to share your concerns with the school throughout the school year. Let them know that you are there to help. Ask for reports, assessments that your child may have undergone, some tests even. Study these. These will be huge eye-openers in enhancing your understanding of your child's needs. Make a list of your child's strengths. Every child, I repeat, every child has strengths. You just have to observe them closely. Your child may be extremely loving or caring, and they may have some skills that other students don't. You need to list these. Understand how they learn. Your child will not learn like other students. Many children with autism learn visually, hence what will help is a visual schedule, or break things up to help them understand and stay calm. Maybe have a support plan in place with the school. This is to avoid over-sensory load. It is important to pick up the early signs and have designated areas where your child can go with maybe their support worker if they have a meltdown or if they get anxious. They can rejoin the class maybe when they're ready. It makes the child feel assured and feel safe. So how can you help your child thrive? First thing is to be consistent. Children with autism have a hard time applying what they've learned in one setting to another. So this includes home. Your child, for example, might use sign language at school to communicate, but never do this at home. So creating consistency in your child's environment is the best way to reinforce learning. Find out what your child's therapists are doing and continue their techniques at home possibly. Exploring the possibility of having therapy take place in more than one place in order to encourage your child to transfer what he or she has learned from one environment to another is extremely useful. It's also important to be consistent in the way that you interact with your child and deal with those challenging behaviours. Try and stick to a schedule. This is important. Children with autism tend to do best when they have a tightly structured schedule or routine. Again, this goes back to the consistency that both they need and they always crave. Set up a schedule for your child with regular times for meals, therapy, maybe school and bedtime. Try to keep disruptions to this routine to a minimum. This applies in school as well as at home. If there is any unavoidable schedule change, you need to prepare your child and so does the school. As a school, we like to reward good behaviour. This should also happen at home. So positive reinforcement, we know, can go a long way with children of autism, and to make an effort to catch them doing something good also is beneficial. Praise them when they act appropriately or learn a new skill, something as simple as this, being very specific about what that behaviour that they're being praised for. Also, look for other ways to reward your child for good behaviour. Maybe give them a sticker. At school we would use wall charts. Maybe they could play with their favourite toy. At school we would say they get extra playtime. Create a home safety zone. So, maybe identify a private space in your home where your child can feel relaxed, feel secure and feel safe. In school we can mirror the same, and we can mirror a safe place for your child where your child can go to when they feel over anxious or when they feel overburdened. This will involve maybe at home organising settings and boundaries in which your child can understand. Sometimes visual clues can help, so maybe coloured tape markings, where places are off limits. Maybe labelling items in the house with pictures possibly. You might also need to safety-proof certain things in your house if your child has tantrums or sometimes may injure themselves. Connecting with your child who's autistic can be challenging, and we appreciate that. But you don't need to talk or touch in order to communicate and to bond. You can also communicate by just looking at your child. Sometimes your child will communicate with you by just looking at you. Even if they or you don't speak, you can learn a separate language, a language that you can communicate when your child is extremely anxious and is unable to talk. It's useful to figure out the motivation behind the tantrum. It's really only natural to feel upset when you're misunderstood and you're ignored. I guess this is no different for a child with autism. When children with autism act out, it's often because you're not picking up on those non-verbal clues. So, if we call it throwing a tantrum, it might be their way of communicating their frustration and getting your attention. I would advise making time for fun. A child coping with autism is still a child. So, for both children and autistic parents, parents of autistic children, there needs to be more to life than just therapy and support. Schedule in a playtime with your child when they're most awake and they're most alert. Figure out ways to have fun together by thinking about the things that make your child smile, laugh, and come out of their shell. Your child is likely to enjoy these activities most if they don't seem therapeutical or educational. There's a tremendous amount of benefits that results from the enjoyment of your child's company and from your child's enjoyment of spending unpressured time with you. I believe that play is an essential part of learning for all children, and it shouldn't really feel like work. You need to pay attention to your child's sensory sensitivities. Many children with autism are hypersensitive to light, to sound, touch, taste and smell. Some children with autism are undersensitive to sensory stimuli. So figure out what sights, what sounds, what smells, what movements, what tactile sensations trigger your child. The bad ones, the disruptive ones, which get the reaction. And then you can start to modify this. What does your child find stressful? Ask yourself that. What does your child find calming? If you understand what affects your child, you'll be better at troubleshooting, as said before. Mental health support in school. What does this look like? Well, young people's mental health is something that we must all take seriously. There are a number of factors that contribute to poor mental health in school. These include exam pressures, so the overwhelming pressures and number of exams that can have a considerable, significant effect on a student's mental health. Then you've got the modern technical world. So young people now are spending more time indoors online rather than outside. So a game of football in the park is being replaced by online games. This is incredibly difficult and incredibly huge of an issue when it comes to students who have autism, as they rely on communication and interaction more than others. Growing social media, this does not help in some aspects. So social media platforms are now evolving, as we know, and the growing popularity is daily. So sites such as Instagram produce feelings of inadequacy as teens compare themselves and their lives to those of their peers. In school, we can help and do our bit. So who should your child speak to if they're becoming and feeling overwhelmed about their mental health? Well, we say a trusted friend, somebody they can confide in, somebody that they know will give them the support that they need, someone who would basically just listen to them. An identified trusted adult. At the start of school academic year, most schools encourage a child to write in their planner one person in the school that they know that they can talk to if ever they had a problem. That name is written down on the first day of school, and the students are asked to refer to that name if they ever needed any problems in the school. Your form tutor. So the school, obviously, we have form tutors where students can tap into on a regular basis. Form tutor is a very good resource as they see their students at the start of most days. Head of year knows the child well, sometimes has travelled up the school years with the child, so knows a bit about their history, things that have gone on and any difficulties that they're facing. Some schools have anti-bullying ambassadors, which are students, older students, who actually support students who feel that they are over anxious, getting bullied or need some support with other things other than academic performance. Schools have a responsibility in terms of mental health. This cannot be stressed enough. Schools have an important role to play in supporting the well-being of their students. This is by developing different approaches which are tailored to their particular needs of the different students. All schools are under a statutory duty to promote the welfare of their pupils, which includes preventing impairment of children's health or development and taking action to enable all children to have best outcomes. Early intervention to identify issues and provide effective support is absolutely crucial. The school role in supporting and promoting mental health and well-being needs to be addressed and needs to be supported. So prevention, creating a safe and calm environment where mental health problems are less likely to evolve. Improving the mental health and well-being of the school population and equipping school children to be resilient so that they can manage the normal stress of life effectively. This might include teaching pupils about mental health and well-being through the curriculum and reinforcing this teaching through school activities and the school ethos. De-escalation and planning for a crisis. When a child is engaged in an active disruptive stage of a behaviour such as, say, a tantrum or aggression, the essential focus has to be on the safety of that child and those around them. Sometimes it can be the protection of property. It's important to keep in mind that when a child is in full meltdown, they are not capable of reasoning, but being redirected or learning replacement skills can help. This level of agitation does not usually come out of thin air. You can learn skills to help anticipate and to turn around any escalation situation that seems to be heading in this direction. Let me talk to you about a well-designed plan. So what will it include? Well, define settings, triggers and signs that in a crisis situation might develop. So tools and strategies to keep the individual and those around them safe. Any setting, school or home, in the community, you need to think ahead. Look at intervention steps and procedures so that promote de-escalation that are paired at each level without increasing the level of agitation. List the things to do and to not do, especially based on any historic events, so fears and needs of the individual will help. Know ways to calm an escalating situation. You need to be on alert for any triggers and any warning signs. Try to reduce stressors by removing distracting elements. So, remain calm. Behaviour is likely to trigger emotions in you. Be gentle, be patient, give them space. Provide clear directions and use simple language. Focus on returning to a calm, ready state and be allowing time in a quiet, relaxation promoting activity. Praise attempts to self-regulate and the use of strategies such as deep breathing. Discuss the situation or teach alternative and make appropriate responses once calm has been achieved. You may want to speak to the individual after as well as the team. So looking at what support can be in place if it's happened at school.